My name is Marvin Bynum. I am a second-year law student here at Marquette University, and hopefully someday, soon, I'll be an attorney here in the wonderful city of Milwaukee. I first got involved with the Fatherhood initiative through the Nurturing Fathers class. I moved here in August of 2006, and didn't have any children at the time, but I really had some issues that I was trying to deal with personally with my background. Just didn't really grow up all that close to my father or my stepfather, and was thinking about having children. My wife and I were thinking about having children, and I really wanted to come to address those things before I brought someone else into this world. So just one day I happened to be reading the paper and read an article about Terrence Ray's Nurturing Fathers class, and I think they were getting ready to have a graduation ceremony in October. So I used the number that was in the article. I called him up on a whim and found out that it was too late for that class, but he said he would get back to me if they were having something in the spring. So he did. He promised. He came through on his promise, and he called me back in the spring, and I signed up for his Nurturing Fathers class, 13 weeks from February through April 2007, and that's how I got enrolled.
Now, you know, Mr. Ray does some incredible things in the city regarding fatherhood. What has been your experience, because you're a father now,
right.
And we learn you've got a young child and you've got one on the way.
Right.
What's it been like being a new dad?
Being a new dad it's better than I ever thought possible. You know, it's definitely time consuming. In fact, I used to, before my son was born, I helped out in a small way with the Fatherhood Summit. Did some things over the summer before my son was born, and we put together something at Miller Park, a tailgate for some fathers in the fall of that year. And you know, we had a great time. I was definitely feeling the pressure though to basically just to be everything, to be a student, to be a good dad, and to be involved with my community, and something that I really want to pick up on when I feel like I have a little bit more time in the future is getting back involved with the summit and getting back involved with the Fatherhood initiative. But as far as being a new dad, I mean, it keeps me humble. It keeps me not getting too high or too low. I mean, I'm in law school now, and you know, being a law student, you get a pretty heavy workload, especially your second year. So one of the things that I tell my classmates, because they, you know, are younger and don't quite understand, you know, how do you do it? How do you have kids and be in law school? I say, I couldn't imagine doing it without having children. Because even if I have the worst day possible at school, I go and pick up my son from daycare, and we go home, and it's like a brand new day.
Now, we know being a dad is not always peachy keen and roses.
Right.
What are the hardest things about being a dad?
The hardest things now, my son is a toddler, he's 21 months old, so the hardest things now are just letting him grow in his own way. I mean, there are things that, you know, I see him do every day that I want to sort of interject or say, no, you do it this way. And, you know, sometimes you just got to step back and let that person be that person. I mean, it's just, you know, my parents let me do that, and who am I to tell him how to grow up? But then again, you know, you do have to set those boundaries,
right.
and safe boundaries.
Right.
You know, that's healthy I understand that's very healthy for him and healthy for children in general. So, you know, I try to keep him within these safe boundaries, and you know, he can't be hanging on the oven door and trying to yank it off in the kitchen. But you know, there are other things that we can do to get rid of that energy around the house. So,
how has being connected with the Milwaukee Fatherhood Initiative, how has it shaped your perspective? Because there are a lot of different dads out there. You've got dads who are married to their spouses. You've got single dads. You've got dads who are struggling and barely making ends meet. There's so many different types out there. But how has the Milwaukee Fatherhood Summit shaped your perspective of fatherhood?
It has expanded my comfort zone. And I think that's probably the simplest way I can put it. You know, and something the first time I realized that was in my class, the Nurturing Fathers class, because, you know, you get in a room with 10, 15 other men who come from all different backgrounds, sometimes different races. I mean, we were predominantly African American, but there's a couple of Caucasian Americans in there and Hispanic American in there, and so we did a lot of mean mugging to start things off. But over the course of time, you realize that we are all in the same boat, and we all have the same questions and struggles, and a lot of it's just being fathers and being men. We are societally trained not to speak about these things, these issues, these feelings, period, in public, and share that sort of stuff. I mean, you just don't do that. And that goes across a lot of different cultures. So being involved in the summit, being involved in the Fatherhood Initiative makes me realize that there are a lot of other folks out there that are having bad days just like me. And it keeps me, it keeps me sane, and it makes me feel like I belong to something. I belong to this community of fathers. That's a special thing.
Knowing what you know and your experience with the Milwaukee Fatherhood, my last question would be, what would you, as a father, what would you like to see the Milwaukee Fatherhood Initiative and other initiatives that are geared towards fathers, what would you like to see them do more of?
Well, of all the things that the Fatherhood Initiative does well, I think they really do a good job at giving fathers who need the tools, giving them practical tools. The driver's license recovery program, Judge Mosley, and those things we need. But I also think we need, and this requires the efforts of everyone who gets involved. Fathers who come to the summit as participants, those who organize it, and everybody in between. But it requires us to really keep in touch. I mean, because we get to the summit and we have a great weekend, and then everybody goes home, yeah. And you don't hear from that dude from that dude from October through June, maybe.
Till the next summit.
Till the next summit.
Okay.
So I think we need to do a better job of keeping those connections live, keeping those connections strong, because again, we are a community. Yeah. And if you don't talk to your neighbor, if you don't talk to your fellow man about what's going on, and even just to say, hey man, you still in this? We need that.
All right. Well, Mr. Bynum, I appreciate it. On behalf of the Milwaukee Fatherhood Initiative, we definitely are looking forward to seeing you at this year's summit.
Sir.